Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zainab Kanu Show, where we empower motherless daughters to change, to grow, and to heal. My name is Zainab, and I am your host. Thank you for joining me. If this is your first time, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, follow me on Instagram, and join our Facebook support group at the Zainab Kanu Show. For my returners, thank you so much for trusting me and giving me a second chance. I am a motherless daughter due to toxic and non-existent relationship with my mother. And I have gone from broken to blissful and from pain to purpose. Yes, let me show you how you can remother yourself. Yes, hi,
Hi,
gorgeous. How are you?
I'm fine. And you?
I'm doing great. I love your cheeks and your dimples. Oh my gosh. Just
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thanks. It's nice to finally see you
Connect.
in person. I don't think I've seen your face, and I don't think I've seen any picture of you before. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
I know, 'cause I rarely post anything.
I have in your videos. Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Because I barely post anything. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Because you have to remember that the audience, the people that are going to be listening to you and watching you, they are looking for some inspiration. They've been where you are and they're trying to move on. If you want to get comfortable, and then you can kind of tell us exactly who you are and how
Okay.
did you get to this point where you are doing the things that you're doing on Instagram.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so I'm Faith, and I'm a rape survivor, and you know, I was raped in 2011. I was uh, I was in my first year in the university, more like we call it pre-degree. I don't know if you know about it. So it's like a year before you actually get into the university proper,
Yes.
right? Yes. So I was um I was on my way. We had just left. We had just resumed from a short break, and classes had started, but not every student had resumed. I didn't go home for the break because I felt, I mean, that was like my first time out of home finally, and I didn't want to go home. I wanted to just enjoy the independence and all of that. And so at the time we were six in my hostel, and at the time I was like the only one around in my own room then. But other rooms were occupied, of course, with few people as well. And so on this day, I was leaving class to my hostel. It was about 3 p.m. thereabouts in the afternoon, and I was leaving class to my hostel. And then, um, so my hostel was quite far from where campus was, and so we used to have this shortcut. We had this shortcut we used to take, for hostels that were within that area. And so I went, and funny enough, I was leaving class at the same time. Another a friend of mine, a male friend of mine, was actually leaving class at the same time. And I was like, oh, why not let's walk together and while away time together and all that. And it was like, jokingly, he was like, oh no, my mom says I shouldn't be passing shortcuts with girls. Jokingly, if he had known, I mean, he probably would have wanted to follow me and all that. And so I took that shortcut on my own without, usually it wouldn't be with any fears, because it was a usual thing rather that we did. And But for some reason, when I, got into that, it was a bush path actually. And so when I got into that path, for some reason, I started feeling, uncomfortable. And then I heard footsteps behind me, people like two people walking behind me. And that's supposed to be normal, right? People walk through that part, but I didn't feel comfortable. And so I tried to like increase my pace to walk faster and all of that. And then they started trying to get my attention, like trying to call me. There were two guys. And I didn't feel comfortable, so I, kept on trying to walk fast so I could leave that place. But unfortunately, they caught up with me and they were like, "Oh, why are you not?" They were indigenes, of the town where my school was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, "Oh, why are you? We're calling you. Why are you not answering?" And all that. And I was like, "What do you want from me?" And long story short, so they were like, "What do you want from me?" I was like, "What do you want from me?" And then they were like, um, they wanted to have sex with me. I was like, uh, I was like, please leave me alone. I was like just trying to like protest. I was really scared at the time, quite frankly. And then one of them, there were two guys, like I said, and then one of them, two local guys. When I say, yeah, they're really local guys. And then one of them was like, looking, they were carrying a bag, and it was like, look into the bag. And so I looked into the bag, and it was filled with, oh my God, so many sharp objects, knives, and a whole lot of stuff like that. And I was like, so at that point, I couldn't even yell for help because I was scared. At that point, I was really scared for my life, you know. So I started, at that point, I started begging, and then they dragged me. It was a bush path. So they pulled me off the path into the bush, and they both took turns to rape me. And in fact, while it's really a gory scene to remember, whilst the first guy was on me, raping me, the other one was asking me to, massage his penis and, do all sorts with him. So it was a very, I don't know, and I was a virgin at the time. I was just 17 then. In fact, I had like 1,000 naira note, in my wallet. I was a student, I didn't have much and all that, but I had that in my wallet. And I think I had my phone. I can't even remember that part. But anyways, I remember leaving the scene with nothing in my wallet because apparently they are taking even that little, money from me. And so whilst I was leaving, when they were done and asked me to, put on my clothes and all that, they were, they warned me severely, like never, not to tell anybody about it or report it, and that if I did that, they were going to kill me and all that. And so that was it for the rape experience itself. But the truth is, and what society really doesn't know, and that we keep trying to explain and explain, is that it goes beyond really the sex itself. Rape is really not just about sex. It's about power. It's about uh taking away. It's about taking away the voice of the victim, taking away the will of the victim, and then it affects so many things in the life of a survivor. Self-esteem, my self-esteem for one was shattered, and I didn't even know immediately. So I don't want to. I know this session, this interview is really about healing, so I don't want to really go into the details of what happened per se. But what I want to take from it is uh what I experienced was, after the rape, what I experienced was I really found it difficult. I lost my voice. That's it. So I found it difficult to even say no to things that I really wanted to say no to. And I it was I got to a point where I now started, now on my healing journey, I now understand. Looking back, I now understand when I see, some ladies who, have become quote and unquote promiscuous, and stuff. It's really not. Sometimes this is not. It's not a general thing, but really sometimes it's not even about uh probably enjoying or wanting to flirt around and all that. It's about, they know I shouldn't be sleeping around, but I don't even know how to say no. I don't want to do this because my voice has been taken away from me. And so that was what I experienced, you know. And then and that actually is a self-esteem issue, really. And so uh going forward, how did I heal? How did I get through it? So it actually cost me a relationship. So I started dating when I started dating a guy when I was, I think, in my second year in the university, not knowing that I still had things I needed to deal with before getting into a relationship. And I found out that I loved this guy. you know we were both Christians, but and he wasn't doing anything to warrant, whether being cheated on or stuff like that. But I just found I couldn't. I was how do I put it now? I was going out with other guys, not from an innocent place, not from a place of, oh, I just want to make friends, but from a place of, they like, there's something missing, there's a void somewhere, and I'm looking for where to, fill it, you know, and all that. Now, one of the things I would like to put out there is that when I was after the rape experience, I should have mourned. I should have allowed myself to mourn, and that's one thing that I tell people now, because I say I got raped on a Wednesday. I think on Friday, I went for choir rehearsals like nothing happened, you know. Yeah, and if I remember then my student pastor then was like, "Oh, like you're strong," because I told him about it. Like, you're strong. I can't believe you came. You still came and all that. It was congratulating me in that sense and encouraging me and all. But what people should have really told me was, are you sure you're okay? What do you feel? How do you feel? I didn't get to express, all the emotions I was feeling then. For a while, of course, I had to leave school and go home and stayed for a while because I called my parents immediately it happened and they picked me home. And then one mistake they made was, that every time I was crying about it, or sometimes we could be having a random discussion and then I just bring it up. I just ask a question about, what I had experienced, and you're like, oh, you're still thinking about this? Get over it, like, forget about it. Now, they were not doing it. They thought they were doing the right thing, really. They were not doing it from a bad place, but if they had allowed me to express my emotions, if they had allowed me to, if they had answered the questions that I had about what I was going through, I could have, to a large extent, dealt with most or quite a number of the emotions and everything that was going through my mind at the time. But so I had to, because I didn't want them to feel bad or feel like, I was a burden to them. I had to now, I kept bottling up everything I was feeling. And so all that exploded like a few years, after. And so, like I said, I was, in my second year in university, I was dating someone, and then we kept on having these issues of, me meeting up, with other guys and even getting physically intimate, with them. I couldn't bring myself really to have sex, as in penetrative sex, but we were having, physical intimacy of different kinds and all that. And so that cost me my relationship along at some point. And then was at that point I realized I can't continue like this. So okay, this relationship has ended. One day, soon or later, I'm going to want to get into another relationship, and I can't bring in this same baggage. And so I started, trying to. So I was really desperate. Yeah, that even brings us another abuse story. So I was really trying to look. I was desperate for answers, for solutions. I knew I needed healing. That was clear already. I knew I needed my voice back. I didn't understand why I just couldn't say, no, I don't want to sleep with you, or no, I don't want to be with you, or no, I have a boyfriend and I'm satisfied with, this person. I didn't get it. And anybody that hears that will think, oh no, you're just promiscuous, oh, you're just this, you're just that. But it was even something I couldn't explain, myself, because after being with these people, I'll feel really terrible. In fact, while being with them, I'll feel terrible, but I just didn't know how to walk away and say no, really. And so I was really desperate for help. So there was this pastor that that I knew back then in where I schooled then was in Ife, Ocean State in Nigeria. And so after my pre-degree, I actually left. I got admission into another university. I got admission into both universities actually, but I left there for the other one. And so I remembered I knew this. I had contacts I think it was BBM pin then or something of this pastor, and then I felt okay. Let me talk to this pastor and all. We didn't necessarily have a close relationship as at then, but I had access to him. And so I sent him a message and, narrated everything. I didn't, because at that point I was like, I need to come out so clean. I can't, if I need help, I mean, if you need help, you're really going to have to tell it all, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I told him everything I had gone through, everything that I was doing that I didn't like, and everything that the self-esteem issues I was dealing with, and how that I needed, in fact, what I told him was that I needed a therapist, and I didn't know at the time, I didn't know information was not as available as it is right now, or maybe it's just me that wasn't in the know. But the way I see, people come out now and say, you can call this number, you can do this, to get help. I didn't see that then. And so I called up this pastor and I was like, I needed help and everything. And then he said to come um, to have a meeting with him, And so I left school for Ife, And so we had, we met, I think like 2-3 times or so. And on the first meeting, I thought we were going to like have a sit down and talk, But so he called and said I should meet him up at the restaurant. So I felt at that point, I felt a little bit uneasy, but because I was expecting, okay, maybe he was going to tell me to come to his office or something. So when he said a restaurant, I felt, okay, maybe he just doesn't have an office of his own yet or something. So I was just really making excuses for him. And so I went to the restaurant, and then he he called and said, he was outside. I was expecting I was going to come in and then we sit and talk. So he asked me to come into the car, which I did. And then we started driving around. I was like, where are we going to? We weren't. So he said, let's just drive around. And, whilst driving around, he abused me. So, and this happened like 2-3 times, It wasn't rape, but it was sexual abuse. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, um, so at that point, I felt like really, I was like, what the hell? Like, you're supposed to be a pastor. You're supposed to be helping me, even if you don't have help for me. I mean, I asked you for a therapist. Recommend a therapist to me. In fact, what he lured me with was, oh, he had called up one or two therapists he had in Lagos that I knew in Lagos that were friends with him, and that we should come around. I should come around and let's talk about my meeting with them and all that. So I was expecting, okay, you're gonna talk to me about my therapist and all that, but you're doing something else. And so at that point I was really, really, as in I was so devastated, and I left without any therapist, without any solution, nothing. So I went back to my school, and for a long time, for a while, I locked myself in. I kept crying every day, and I was like, God, what do you want me to do? And so at that point I was like, if a pastor could not help me, if a pastor was going to do this to me, then I think I'd gotten to the point where I didn't even want anybody. I didn't want any therapist. I didn't want any counselor. I didn't want anything. I just wanted. So what I told God then was, if you cannot help me deal with these things, personally, without having to send someone to me. If at that point, I don't even think I was even asking him to send anyone to me. I just said, I don't want to have. I just told him I didn't want anybody, to help me anymore. That God had to just be the one to help me. out of what I was dealing with. And I remember, on this day, every time I talk about this part, I'm always very close to tears because it was a very it was an encounter for me. And so that day I was crying, and I remember I was in so much pain. I was pulling up my bedspread, in so much agony, and with one hand, I was like I was managing to like stretch out my hand for someone to reach to help me. And then with one hand, I raised that hand and that hand up, and I was like, "Help me." That was all I said. And at that point, I knew something had changed.
Mm.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Jesus. So at that point, I knew something had changed. You know how uh, someone was blind and then he receives this sight, like Jesus comes and then lays his hands on his eyes and then heals it. There is no question of, are you really healed? Like you just know. I couldn't see before, now I can see. So at that point, I really knew something had changed. I couldn't explain it. I really couldn't explain it. That doesn't mean that I didn't have things to still deal with going forward, but I just know that was the beginning of healing, for me. And so it was literally myself and the Holy Spirit beginning from then on. And so I was getting specific instructions on what to do, you know, on my healing journey. This was, if I was after a while, I got to know, okay, these are some of the things that a counselor or a therapist would actually ask you to do, So I just started knowing what to do. And there was a point where I needed to actually isolate. I don't want to use the word isolation, but I needed to detach from friends and all of that. Some of the friends in my life at the time were actually toxic and all. And then, but I just knew the Holy Spirit told me, okay, at this point you need to isolate yourself for a while. I did that for a while. And during that period of isolation, it was back to back on the word, on prayers. In fact, that was when I found, because I kept on watching YouTube videos, YouTube sermons, and I found Sarah Jakes Roberts. Man, I love her.
I love
Yeah,
her. She was a turning point in my life. She
man,
was
she
one
was
person.
for me. Man, I was
I'm getting
like,
chills.
I remember watching her videos, her sermons, and I was like, where have you been all my life? So, I started watching at that. I think I watched every single sermon, like from, I don't know, from when she started her ministry up until that point. Like I watched every single thing, and it was like everything she had. Of course, she didn't go through rape, but everything she had to say was what I needed really at that time. And so I was, I watched them everything back to back, and it was just really me and God. And so things really began to change for me. My self-esteem, of course, wasn't at its peak yet, but I started, getting better. I could start to say, no, I don't want this. Yes, I want this. I felt in control. I felt in control of uh the people I allowed into my life, because prior to that time was like anybody was just coming, anybody, like I didn't have control of all of that. But at that point, I found my
Your voice.
will. Yes, my voice, my will again, you know. And then, I went through that. So at some point, yeah, I was talking about the stages the Holy Spirit took me through. So yeah, I went through that isolation stage. At some point, it was forgiveness. That was like the most difficult. Like that was the most difficult, part of my healing, that I had to go through. And I had to, of course, first of all, forgive the people that raped me back then. I had to forgive the pastor. For the pastor, in fact, my forgiveness of that pastor is I'd say it's still ongoing, because that's actually one of the things that I tell people. People expect that. So when you say forgive, they expect it to be something instant, like, oh, I've forgiven you, boom. It doesn't work like that. You know, it's a process. I mean, there was a time I felt okay, I had forgiven him, and then I something came up again. Maybe I think I saw a billboard or something about him, and I felt my heart really pounding. And so I knew, man, okay, this work is not complete yet. I still need to do some more. So I started. One of the things that I did was confessions. I started every time his thoughts came to my mind, I would confess that I had forgiven him. I kept confessing, I forgive you from the bottom of my heart in the name of Jesus, and all that. So, in fact, recently, I don't really go into all of that, but recently he actually popped up again, because I had thought I had lost contact with him, and I was really fine with that. But somehow, some way, he popped up again, and was, some funny drama kind of happened and all that. And, I felt that anger, coming back again. And I was like, you should have just stayed without getting in touch at all. I was doing fine and everything, but that actually showed me and taught me that there's actually still work to do as regards for my forgiveness, my forgiving him, as it were. So anyways, so yeah, I walked through detaching myself from friends, from toxic people basically, and then attracting people that would really help me on my journey and all that. And then there was also forgiveness. There was and then I actually started to talk, about it. I had been a bit, silent about it. And this is not to say that when you are abused, you have to come out to talk about it. It's really up to you. But I felt like, telling people about it, not just anybody actually. No, I'm not saying I went public with it yet, but, telling people about it sort of helped me, to number one, come to terms with it, and then to let go of it. Now, uh, so how did I start to do? You mentioned, you asked me how I started to do the things that I
Yeah,
do
so
now.
like how did you acquire the courage? And it sounds like the courage started when you felt the Holy Spirit, when you were reaching out,
Yeah,
when you were in your room reaching out, pulling on the sheets in need of
yeah,
help, because that's when you are truly in pain. And I can
yeah.
share, when I was in pain, I wasn't pulling on sheets. What I would do is I would go to the woods and I would be calling on God, like, God, please help me. Like, God, where are you?
Uh,
So you had a similar incident and you felt,
yeah,
it's like you felt that peace coming over you.
yeah, exactly. Uh,
Yeah, that's, I know that feeling. When you were saying it, I was like, oh my gosh. It's like you almost feel like, it's like you just feel like everything is going to be okay. You don't
yeah,
see all the
exactly.
negativity that you saw
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
It's like your vision
exactly.
is so different, and it's in the woods where I used to go to meet God. Was the first time I was on YouTube and I came across Sarah Jakes. The first time I heard her,
Oh my
knew,
God.
I knew, I
Oh
knew,
my
I'm getting
God.
chills. I was like, oh my God, who is this lady? Where is she from?
Exactly.
Where has she been? And at the
Wow.
time, it was like 2016 for me. So I started watching all of
Wow,
her
that was about
videos.
the same time for me as well. 2015, 16-ish.
Oh my gosh, look at God.
Wow.
Look at
Wow.
how amazing God is. Someone that went through something at a young age that thought that it was shame for her is what's helping so many people.
Wow.
I don't even have, I just thank God for this experience, for this moment, because it
Mm.
really, for me, it just reassures me that I am on the right path. Anyway, you just tell us. So when you felt the Holy Spirit in you, right? And you got the courage. how did you continue on knowing that one, the rapist silenced you, and then indirectly, without even truly meaning any harm, your parents were also silencing you as well? How did you deal with that?
Oh well, I remember I mentioned that, for a while I isolated myself. So what I did in that time was to silence every other voice. I didn't want to hear any other voice but God at the time. Whether it was they were telling me what was right or telling me what was wrong, I just wanted it has to be God telling me directly. And so uh because I knew that my parents meant no harm, and of course if they had known better, they would have helped me with that. So it was easy to I didn't hold that as a grudge really against them. So it was really easy to let that go, and I and then I knew that, talking, actually expressing the feelings that I was having and everything was gonna help me. And so I just went for it. Like I said, I didn't want to hear what anybody was saying, whether it's right for you to talk or it's wrong for you to. I didn't want to hear any of that. I just went for, does it make me happy? Does it make me feel good? Is God backing me up with this? And that was it. So I think people really have to come to that place where it's not from a place of rebellion, but from a place of I have to I have to put myself first. I have to feel okay. And if this is gonna make me feel okay, I'm going to do it. I have to pursue my healing. And if talking is what's gonna help you, go ahead, talk. So it doesn't really matter what anybody is saying, about it.
I mean, when you talk about having to detach from toxic relationships,
Mm.
that can be very tough
Yeah, it is.
because
It is,
people look
especially
at
when
you.
that is all you have known for years, you know. Yeah.
I applaud you. I really applaud you. I applaud you for seeking out healing because a lot of people don't. They just let it stay in them and it manifests in so many bad behaviors. But it
Yeah.
sounds to me like you have known from the beginning that you don't want to have that living in you.
Yeah.
Like you want
Yeah.
to be better. You just didn't know how.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love that. I love that. And I'm so happy that you were able to reach that. Every day is a process. The whole
Yeah. Yeah.
ourselves and as well as
Yeah.
the journey is
Healing
a
really
process.
healing really isn't a destination per se. It's something you keep on going through. There's no destination,
Oh,
you know.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you were saying about your dream, so continue on with
Oh
your.
yeah. So I had a dream. Yeah, I had a dream, and uh in the dream, I don't I think I've shared this a few times before. It was like, so I found myself back in school, and it was like we had a class that the lecturer spent more time than he should, and we finished quite late. And so in the dream, it seemed like where I was living was another town, different from where my school was. So I had to do a little bit of traveling from home to school all the time. And so after class, and this is my dream. So after class, we were trying to, you know, leave the school for where we how do I put it now? We're trying to leave the school for where we lived. Where we lived was Oshogbo in Osun State, and where the school was Ejigbo in Osun State as well. And so the drive was like, I think, 45 minutes or so. Yeah, so it felt it looked in the dream, it was like there were no buses, and so the guys in class were trying to mobilize vehicles for all the students to get in so we could all get to our houses. that night, that evening. And so, all of a sudden it seemed like, so I was waiting in a car, one of the students' cars. So I was waiting, I was sitting, I had gotten a space, so I sat in front of the passenger seat whilst the driver was still trying to get help for other people. And so I noticed somebody was staring at me from another car. And I was like wondering who the person kept staring. And then someone in the same car with me who was behind confronted him and was like, why are you staring like that? And also a fight ensued. And so it became really chaotic, and we started hearing gunshots and all of that. So I was like, man, what is going on? So everybody started like running helter skelter. And it was like, it was a frenzy really. So I remember in the dream, I like sort of ran into a bush to hide so that I wouldn't get injured and all that. And then after waiting for like a long time, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, an hour, quite a long time, somebody now came to me and then said, you can come out now, it's all over. Yeah. And so I came out, and everywhere was fine, there was space. So I got back into the vehicle, and then we went to our uh you know destination. Okay, no, I don't even think yeah, so I just know that I got back. I was trying to get back into the vehicle, and then I was like regaining consciousness. I was like waking up from my sleep. And so I saw a Bible, like a picture of a Bible, like opening itself. And then I was really trying to get, so it stopped at some point. I mean, it opened up at a page, and I was trying to get what was in that page, but I was gaining consciousness. So shortly before I woke up, I heard Exodus 4 in my spirit. And then I woke up, and then I went to check. So it's a story that I know. I mean, everybody knows. Literally, it's like a Bible story, but I didn't know that that's where it was. I didn't actually study it for myself. And so I checked, and it was a story of Moses, how God called Moses, and how when God started showing him, when Moses was asking God, how would Pharaoh believe him, and all that. And he was like, put your hand into your robe and then bring it down. And then it was leprous, and then he returned it, brought it out back. It was, fine. And so I asked God, what does this, mean to me? Why are you showing me this? And so it was like my story, everything that I went through, was my sign, was my Moses rod. And so it was like, so it was more like, the whole thing was like a representation of what I had gone through, how God had helped me, or how God was helping me, and how I needed to, now raise that rod, for others to see, for the world to see, and people get healed, people get help. So it was like, so the Holy Spirit was literally telling me, okay, so at this point where I asked Moses to drop the rod, that this is me asking you to drop your pain, drop everything that you're going through. And then when I ask you to pick it back up, it's because I've already worked on it. I've delivered you from it. So I'm asking you to pick it back up, and it's no longer pain anymore, it's a sign. So just like Moses, it was no longer a rod, it was a snake, it was a sign, And so that was, the interpretation that the Holy Spirit gave me then. And so I knew, so that was when I knew that this was what God was asking me to do. But it wasn't like it was really easy to get started quite.
No.
Even with that dream and with the Holy Spirit's interpretation and all of that, I was fighting it like, no way. I'm I'm not doing it. Like, so I was even trying to negotiate with God, like, are you sure this is what you're saying? What is this not?
Like, God, are you sure? Is that because I think this is what you're trying to say. I don't think that's what you're trying to say.
Exactly. And at the time, I still felt like I still had things to deal with. Fine, I was getting better, but I felt like I wasn't there yet. I felt, for someone to come out and be confident and say, I want to help other people go, heal from rape and whatever it is that you're going through. And I felt the person really has to have come to a place of total healing. So I felt like total healing means that you are completely fine, there is nothing, no. And so I was like, God, I'm not qualified for this. Like, I still have this. So I was even telling God, as if he doesn't know. I was like, see this thing. I still have this to deal with. I still have that to deal with. And but finally, of course, I came to terms with it. I agreed with God, and then so it actually I started out just writing. I started out just as a blog and then an Instagram page where I was anonymous for a while. I was still trying to find the courage to like show my face and all that. So I started anonymously and I was writing and people were sending me emails and how like they read something I wrote and it really blessed them, how like they needed me to counsel them and all that. And I was like, oh wow, this thing's working. So uh I so after a while I felt okay, I think it's time for me to actually come out and let people see the face behind this thing. And so I came right now that blog is not exactly existent. It's not existent anymore. I now I do what I do in my name. Like people know it's me, doing it and all that. Yes, so that's like the journey so far, and how I started helping people.
Whatever God is doing right now, I just surrender to it. And just, I, just hearing your story and how you came about doing things and surrendering to the process and the voice, where you were able to shut out every other voice, detach from toxicity. That is
Yes.
power.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I thank God. I don't take any credit at all for it. It was all God. All God.
Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. So, when you started the process of forgiving the rapist, did you report them to the police? How did you go about that? Did you just forgive? Did you have a conversation with them?
Okay, so you remember I said they were indigent, so they were not even people I knew. They were total strangers.
Right.
So I didn't know them. I didn't know where they lived or anything. Immediately it happened after, I met two guys from my fellowship while I was on my way from the scene to my hostel. And so they helped me, they carried me to my
Mm.
hostel, and then a friend of mine, helped me to the hospital, helped me to the student affairs to go report it. And then we also went to the police station to report it. But the Nigerian police, I don't know. I really, I don't know what to say. They, I didn't get, of course, obviously, I didn't get justice. I didn't even get, I didn't get any effort, as it were, from the police. So all I knew, all they did was they followed me back to the scene. They asked me to take them to the scene. So we went to the scene of the rape. They saw it, and they asked me questions. In fact, they were even you know they were asking me, why did you pass here? Ask,
You were blaming
yeah,
you.
literally,
Yeah,
like, why did I
victim
pass here?
blame, victim shame.
Yeah, yeah, that I shouldn't have walked through that path, and all that. That I must have been so bold to have thought that I could, walk through that path and everything. And anyways, so after that, I really didn't hear from the police anymore. There was no calls, nothing. I wasn't asked to come identify anybody, nothing, you know. And so so my dad asked me if I still wanted to stay in the school. And he said for my safety, especially because we couldn't rely on the police for my safety. And he felt if I really still wanted to stay, I might have to, let go of trying to pursue finding those people, for my safety. And so I said I was fine with it, because I still wanted to stay back, at the school. And so I didn't till today. I didn't get to see them. I didn't as at if I see them right now, I'm sure I'll still recognize them. I'm positive I still will, but I don't know how. I don't think that's possible. And so I think I even need to mention that when it comes to forgiveness, really, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you get to see them or that they get to apologize to you for it. Sometimes you're not going to get the closure that you need. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you right now. You just
Okay,
came in.
yeah.
You went out for a minute, but you just came in.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so I was saying, if closure was what I needed to heal, then I wouldn't be on my journey right now. So You really don't. People often think that they need to have closure, they need to find those people, they need to get to see those people that abuse them, that rapes them, or hurts them before they forgive, before they let go. But you don't necessarily need to. Letting go really is not even about them. It's not for them, it's for you. And so you don't need a second part. It's just you and God. It's just you working through it, yourself, basically. So I didn't have to, meet them or see them and all of that.
So right now, I saw something on Instagram where a 12-year-old or I think a 13-year-old girl in Lagos just was like raped by a couple of men.
There have been like different. I'm not sure which one you're talking about right now
There've
because
been
we've
a
had
couple
like
of them.
different. Yeah, especially this past few weeks. Now, one thing I know is that it's not like the rape cases just increased all of a sudden. It's been there. It's been there really. It's just perhaps because there is a lockdown now. People's attention is now drawn to social media more than before and all that, and people now have the time to actually post stuff on social media. People are now, the stories are now coming out more than they used to. But it's been there. There's literally more than, I don't know how many rape cases every day. I mean, 1 in every 4 girls in Nigeria has been raped, according to statistics, or will go through rape at some point. 1 in every 4 girls. So that means that there's a rape case every single day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that is high.
really high, really, really high.
So now with your Instagram, you are helping people through that channel. What other way are you helping? Like what,
Oh, okay, so
how are
I,
you
I
helping other
actually
people?
I actually have a non-profit organization now. So when I shut down the blog, it was more like I transitioned into a non-profit organization. Apart from my personal work with people online, I actually now I have a non-profit organization called the Healed Woman Foundation, and what we do is we go to primary and secondary schools in Nigeria. We travel and talk to the girls about sexual abuse, educate them about sexual abuse, and then help the victims among them. Because when we have a talk with them, one of the things that we do is to share stories of, I share my story with them. Sometimes it's stories of, some of the members of my team, who are survivors as well. So we share stories with these girls so that they can get the confidence that they need to actually come out to tell their story, not to the public, of course, to us personally, and then
Right.
we can help them, whether it's with whether it's to link them up with we don't have a legal department in my nonprofit, but we can help to link them with another organization that can help them legally. We help with we help medically. We can help them medically. Some of them, in fact, one of the things that one of the things that we are working on right now is trying to get, well, perhaps when this whole pandemic thing is over, trying to get medical checkups for them. So one of the things we noticed is when these girls come to us, they come to us saying that they have never told anybody about the experience before. So that means that they've been raped without tests, without knowing if they have any STDs, or anything like that, because they've not told their parents, they've not told anybody. So if we can help at least with that, even if we're not, even if we cannot afford to help with the treatment, at least get them to know if they have any infections that they need to start treating, and all that. Yeah. So that's one of the ways I help as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Especially in our African community, I can't imagine in Nigeria. I can just picture in my country when I was a kid and I was like, I think I've said this before, like 9, 10 years old. I will have this grown man that will just come and get me and then take me to his place. And you see all these older women, they'll be cooking outside and doing things. You would think one of them would say something. Nope.
Mm.
They don't say a word. And then when, they would take me out of their room or whatever, then they'll say, ooh, in my language, that picking there, I'm big woman, too big woman, to get fast behavior. But wait a minute. I'm like 9, 10 years old. What? But these are some of the things. So I can imagine with what you are trying to do right there. I hope you're not getting resistance, and I hope any kind of resistance
Oh well.
whatsoever. You are?
Well, yeah, yeah. We still have a long way to go. Things are, well, sort of getting better. Like the government seems to be, especially in Lagos State where I stay now, the government seems to be getting more and more involved and trying to work out laws and policies and all that
Oh,
to
awesome.
help. you know yeah, but we still have a long way to go. I remember trying to get into a public school in a particular area, and what I got, because you have to go get consent from the government, before you can go into their schools to do such work. And the response I got was, oh, we have counselors already. And it's like, you have counselors, but when we go to these schools with your counselors, they're still coming to say, they're still coming to tell us, oh, I've gone through this and I've never told anybody before. So what exactly, you know this is not to discredit the work of the counselors in these schools at all, but you can't, there's nothing like too much counseling. There's nothing like too much help, because if a girl cannot talk to this person and another person comes up, I mean, it's like this is another shot at getting somebody else to speak up, to reach out for help. So I don't think that there's any such thing as too much help, or we already have a counselor, so we don't, your help or whatever is not needed. And so that's one of the resistances, really, that we get. I feel like they are defensive. I don't know why, about us getting into the schools to discuss these things with the girls and get them help and all that. But we're making progress. We're making progress.
Thank God for that. And they could be defensive due to ignorance, just a lack of
Yeah,
education,
yeah,
and some men don't want to deal with it. And even some women. Some women don't
yeah,
even want to talk about it. Even women
yeah,
that have gone through it, they get
yeah.
mad at the younger generation for even speaking up about it.
Picking up, yeah,
Yes, because they're like, I
mhm,
went through it and I was fine and I'm fine now. But then you interact with them, you're like, Lord Jesus,
yeah. They think they are fine.
you are
They're
very
not.
bitter, you are very angry, you're very mean,
Absolutely,
you just you're just very
absolutely.
nasty. So you are not
Yeah,
okay, you're not fine. It's all of that,
yeah,
when someone violates you, what happens is, just like you said, when you get silence, after a while, the silence turns to anger.
yeah.
And for some
Uh-huh.
people, the anger just stays
Yeah.
and they never know
Uh-huh.
what to do with it. Now,
Yeah.
how is your life now? I know you're doing the nonprofit work and you're doing the work that you're doing on Instagram. How has your
Uh.
life changed? Are you married? Do you have kids? Tell us a little bit about
I know I'm not
that.
married yet, but I'm
Yeah.
engaged.
I saw
Yeah.
the ring. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Are you excited?
Yeah, I am. Absolutely. In fact, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm actually at this point, because I remember there was actually a period in my life where I was like, I'm not gonna get married. I don't want to get married, because I just felt like, I'd gone through too much from the male gender, and I felt, what does the male gender really have to offer me, and all that. So it wasn't bitterness, it was fear.
Hmm.
Actually, it was fear of, I don't know what else I'm going to go through, and all that. But I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I've overcome it. I'm glad, I'm actually looking forward to getting married, you know.
That's exciting. Now, what would you say to someone that is currently going through what you went through a couple of years ago? What is your advice for them right now? They're lost, they're broken, they're silenced. What would you say?
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is this: healing is possible. Healing is real. Like, I know I can understand how, whilst you're still in the midst of that darkness and all of that, negativity, negative emotions, confusion, and all of that, it'll seem like I can never get over this. It'll seem like, this is gonna be like, this can never go away. Now, I would really admit and let you know the truth that you're never going to forget it, obviously. I mean, it's not like healing doesn't mean that, your memory gets wiped,
I would like
or
that
that you
though.
lose.
I would like that. I've been praying for that. They need to come up with something that wipes that memory away.
Yeah. Healing doesn't mean that, you're not going to remember, but it just means that when you remember with power. You remember knowing that you are now in control, and that it's not it's not what you went through or the emotions and all that is controlling you. Like, you know that, um oh, it's just a matter of time, I'm going to get over this feeling. It's not something that, I'm going to worry, because of course there are times when I still get flashbacks, or for example these days when, people have been coming up with, rape cases and all of that. It's given me, it's like reminded me, sort of, I've had flashbacks because of it. But, like, they don't stay. Like, I'm not even bothered that, oh, this is like another cycle of depression and all that. No, I'm not, but I just know it's gonna pass. So that's what healing will do for you. You feel empowered. You feel like you're now in control. Even if there's a negative feeling or negative emotion, you know that it's so temporary. So healing is real. Like, you can get here, you can get to this point. So don't think so. That's my word for anyone who is presently dealing with, the effects of abuse of any kind now. That healing is real. And so don't don't write yourself off and think that, this is what you have to deal with for the rest of your life. No, you can be happy and genuinely happy.
So, what is your one word? Your one word of empowerment?
One word of empowerment. I'm not sure I get the
So,
question.
what is your one word that you would say people should go by, whether they've experienced childhood trauma or experienced like adult trauma with a rape or etc.? What is your one word to keep them going? Your one word to empower them that they can use and hold on to every day?
You're in control. You
So,
are in
control.
control. Yes, control is the word. Yeah, because one of the, I mean, in fact, the major thing that, the major issue that survivors go through, is that they feel they feel like they're. I've said that quite a couple of times in this interview, that they feel like their voice, their will, has been taken away from them. And so, but the truth is, it's all here. It's all in the mind. The moment you are in control here, you are actually in control, of emotions, of relationships, of anything and everything that has to do with it. Of course, God is the ultimate. God is in control, definitely. But when it comes to, you having power, you having a say over your life, you having a say, about how you deal with your feelings, your emotions, your healing, you are in control. So control is the word. Control is the word.
So, my final question before I let you go: what is your self care? What does it look like?
Self-care. So one thing I think that I learned, on my journey is, I'm looking for the best way to put this. So it's more like just does it make me happy? Does it make God happy? If it does, I do it. So when it comes to, oh, I want to, even as little, even with the smallest decisions, as I want to take myself out, to eat, or I want to go to a spa. I want to change the color of my hair, or I want, like, does it make you happy? Will it help your state of mind? Once it does, go for it. Just go for it.
So your
That's
self-care, a part of your self-care is assessing how it will make you feel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I've never
Exactly.
heard that before, and that is awesome. That is so awesome. Assessing how it will make you feel.
It will
It's
make
a
you
part of,
feel, yeah,
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 I love that.
exactly. Yeah.
Faith, oh my
Because
gosh.
it will go a long way in help. It'll go a long way in actually helping you on your journey in every single decision, the little decisions, the big decisions. How will it make you feel? That's it. If, in fact, even when it comes to relationships, so perhaps I agree to go on a date with someone to get to know the person and all that, and then I just feel like, fine, I have made an agreement with this person. I was going to meet them, but somehow I don't feel like I want to go anymore. Fine, it can be hurtful to the person, but will my going there make me happy? Will it make me comfortable? If it won't anymore, it won't. And so, I mean, how will it make me feel? That's it. And I'm not saying be selfish. I'm not saying, don't be selfish, but be uh be what's the word? Be self-conscious. Be conscious about, what goes on in your heart, in your mind, how do you feel, basically. Be self-conscious.
I love it. I love it. I thank you so much. You have no idea. I wish I can see you. You're in person. I can hug you. Maybe someday in the near
Oh,
future, we will definitely have that. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for
thank
taking
you.
this time to empower, uplift, and encourage other women. It
Thank
must not have been easy. I know for sure it's not. Because every time you tell your story, it's almost like you're re traumatizing yourself, sometimes in that case. But you held
Yeah,
it together, and the only time you had emotions that were tearful was when you talked about the Holy Spirit. That's because
yeah,
that moment was more powerful than every other moment.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely,
because you
absolutely.
felt that in you, and I felt that. But I truly thank you. I encourage you to continue doing this phenomenal work. Look
Thank
at
you.
Sarah Jakes, the person that we have in common right now.
Mm,
What she's doing. Look at how she has helped us.
yeah,
So we got to continue doing the same. We don't know who is watching, who is listening,
exactly,
and who
exactly. Yeah.
needs this right now, who is
Mm,
drowning in their pain.
mm.
So we just got to continue the work. May God continue to strengthen us, give us the
Amen.
courage,
Amen.
the wisdom,
Amen.
and the
Amen.
understanding to approach and do excellent work, the work that He wants
Amen.
us to do. I hope you have a wonderful
Thank
day,
you.
okay?
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this interview.
Thank you. Have a good day.